If there is one thing that is certain about this year's NFL season, it is the fact that we know absolutely nothing about it at all. However, that doesn't mean like idiots like myself don't think we do. And this is especially true around this time of year since the NFL's trade deadline is nearing. With teams looking to add that one piece that separates them from the Super Bowl and teams looking to have a fire sale as they build for the future, today on Frankie Talks Football, I am going to bring you through 5 bold trades that could happen this NFL trade deadline. Starting with a trade that actually occurs to my favorite team as the New York Giants trade for Jacoby Myers, who, man, that situation in Vegas is getting real sticky. Now, Jacoby has made it known that he wants out of Vegas, and in case you're wondering where I got that impression from, allow me to play this clip from an interview of him just recently.
We know where you stood before the season. I mean, is that still your desire?
As far as wanting to be traded?
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Like I'm saying, like, I'm a professional at the end of the day. Like, I'm just trying to play good football. So at the end of the day, if I'm here, like I said, I'll play good football. If I'm not here, I go out there and play good football.
Yeah, that's not what you want to hear out of your wide receiver one. However, I give Jacoby a lot of props for saying that even if he isn't traded, he will still be playing to the best of his ability, even in a situation where he would rather be out. Now, for the Giants, as we all know, wide receiver Malik Neighbors unfortunately went down with an injury that sidelined him for the rest of the NFL season. And at 28 years old, Jacoby Myers is nearing his prime, which makes him a top candidate for the New York Giants to make a trade for. For the first time in his career, he had reached 1,000 yards in 2024, and this could drive compensation for him a little higher than it could have been. Whether the trade involves picks or just picks in a player, the Giants desperately need a second wide receiver to back up Malik Neighbors at the position, but looking at this season, they don't really have any breakout star like Malik Neighbors, which Jacoby Myers could be for them. Now, giving them credit, Wan'Dale Robinson and others have begun to fill the shoes of Malik Neighbors, but getting a guy like Jacoby Myers could take the attention away from them, allowing more offensive production than the Giants are getting at the moment. Also, with the promotion of quarterback Jackson Dart as the starter, getting him the most help that he can have during his rookie season will be beneficial to getting the max of his rookie year. The last thing you want is your rookie quarterback to start struggling and end up having Jackson Dart be another Daniel Jones situation. But ultimately, I think the Giants do right by going out and trading for Jacoby Myers, landing a big-time wide receiver at the deadline. Jacoby is currently in his final year of his contract, which could allow the Giants to restructure him for the future and even extend him as they look to build around quarterback Jackson Dart. Ultimately, for the Giants, this could be a low-risk trade to make as they look to build around Jackson Dart, as I mentioned, and gives the Giants leeway in terms of negotiation. Is he the best target out there? No, but I think the Saints are going to be unwilling to trade Chris Olave, as I believe the Dolphins will also be unwilling to trade Jalen Waddle as well. So Giants fans, rejoice, you finally got your wide receiver to build for the future when Malik Neighbors is back healthy. Staying in the East, however, switching to the AFC, my second bold trade prediction is that the Buffalo Bills get help on that secondary in trading for Seahawks cornerback Tariq Woolen. Now, they know it, we know it, the Bills defense just quite frankly isn't ready for a deep playoff run, especially with injuries to Taylor Rapp, Dorian Strong, and rookie Maxwell Harrison, who, thankfully for the Bills, has since entered his 21-day return window, remaining on the injury report this week. These injuries are leaving deep holes in the secondary, and should the Bills want to make a deep playoff run, adding a cornerback like Tariq Woolen could benefit their defense in the sense that they get an elite pass coverer who has been a ball hawk in each of his seasons with Seattle. And in a secondary that has only recorded 3 interceptions through 8 weeks of football, adding Tariq Woolen can majorly improve the Bills' defense in that sense. He brings a resume that includes 11 interceptions through 54 total games played and can be a major improvement to this Bills defense that has simply lacked in the secondary. While he hasn't recorded one yet this season, Reek is destined to break out, and I believe that him being traded to the Bills could allow him to reach his full potential on the season. Now, getting a guy like Woolen is going to cost you, but if the Bills truly believe that this could be a year where they make a run, it would be 100% worth it for them to go out and get Tariq Woolen. It's not like they're getting an old veteran either. Woolen is just 26 years old, so adding him can allow the Bills to extend the young star and have him replace an aging Tre'Davious White. Now, there is just one major problem that gets in the Bills' way of trading for Tariq Woolen, and that is the fact that the Seahawks themselves are actually in a pretty good spot in terms of making a run of their own. They sit atop the NFC West and are currently dealing with injuries to Devon Witherspoon, so giving up a guy like Tariq Woolen would cause a major issue in their secondary until they are able to get healthy. The saving grace for the Bills could be the moving of Nick Emanwari to corner in place of Tariq Woolen, but again, I think for this deal to be done, I think this has to be a perfect price type situation for the Seahawks in order for them to consider moving him. And if the Bills think they can go on a Super Bowl run, I see no reason why they shouldn't give up a good deal to go out and get someone that can majorly improve their secondary. Now, my next trade is one that, while it might not make the most sense in the short term, I think for the long term, if the Chargers were to go after a certain player on the New York Giants, this could potentially change their season and potential future seasons in terms of contending for a Super Bowl. And the player I am referring to from the New York Giants is guard Evan Neal. Now look, I understand that Evan Neal hasn't been the most productive player on the New York Giants in terms of their offensive line. And with their benching of him for right tackle Jermaine Illuminor, I can see a possibility where the New York Giants potentially release Evan Neal. However, there is one glaring need that the Chargers need, and that is help at the offensive line, specifically the tackle position, with recent injuries to Rashawn Slater, Joe Alt, and Trey Pipkins. The Chargers are bare at the position, and while Joe Alt has returned, it is not necessarily clear when Rashawn Slater and Pipkins will return. I think Neal gives the Chargers necessary depth at the position when these players return, and I believe that this could be a low-risk trade for the Chargers given Evan Neal's current status with the Giants. Another thing they've got going for him is that it just seems like every player gets better when they leave the Giants. But in all seriousness, given the Chargers cap space sitting at $2.6 million, the Chargers couldn't target a top prospect at the position. I think Neal is a low-risk trade, as mentioned, because he is in his rookie deal, so the cap hit for him wouldn't be a huge hit to the remaining cap that the Chargers still have. I know I mentioned the potential future aspirations that Neal gives the Chargers, but if you're looking at just this season, with the goal to make the Super Bowl, with the team that you have, they need all the help they can get at the position. Herbert is the most sacked quarterback through 8 weeks of football. And with injuries to Najee Harris and Omarion Hampton taking away from the run game, although Kamini Vidal doing a very good job there, it's important to build around what you have, and the offensive line is a glaring need for the Chargers. It probably wouldn't cost the Chargers all that much to get Evan Neal, maybe a 4th round pick at most, and I do believe that the Chargers could make this move for a player who, simply put, hasn't worked out for his current team. Now, moving out of the AFC, let's move into a team who is dealing with injuries at the exact opposite side of the ball, their front seven. And if you've paid any attention to football, there is one team that sticks out in terms of this, that being the San Francisco 49ers, who I believe could go out and trade for middle linebacker Logan Wilson of the Cincinnati Bengals. Yeah, there's really no sugarcoating it. The 49ers defense is depleted, and this is no thanks to the lingering injury bug that simply won't leave the San Francisco 49ers. Losing players like Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, and other key pieces have left huge holes along their front seven, and bringing someone like Wilson could at least stop the bleeding, if only a little bit, in terms of those positions. Not only would trading for Logan Wilson fill a position of need for the 49ers, the middle linebacker is 29 years old, and with 6 years of experience, this could be beneficial considering who the 49ers have at the position in terms of his playing experience. The 49ers' current starting linebacker is Tatum Bethune. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. And while he has done a solid job covering for Fred Warner, the experience Logan Wilson could bring would help the 49ers playoff aspirations and even Super Bowl aspirations. Just like anything in sports, experience is everything, and this experience could help with Bethune's development, as well as potentially give Robert Saleh a little bit more flexibility in terms of his scheme. Do I think the Bengals make this trade? No. But seeing how they lost to the Jets on Sunday, this could change the trajectory of their season in terms of making the playoffs. Not only this, but the Bengals' loss of Joe Flacco brings in quarterback Jake Browning, who Eesh, when he played the position, he was a turnover machine for them. I think since he's in a bit of a weird spot at the moment, and I think the ultimate decision to trade Wilson would depend on just how serious Joe Flacco's injury is and how long he would be out. Right now, he's considered day by day, but we'd have to see if there are any further developments in his injury story. If Wilson's available, I don't see a scenario where the 49ers don't try to make an attempt to go after him, considering where they are in terms of the position. And seeing as where they are now, I believe that the 49ers wouldn't hesitate to make a move for the 6-year man. And now finally, my last trade is one that might come off a little bit weird and probably won't happen, but hey, what's not to love about a good old shakeup, huh? I had mentioned the injuries to Najee Harris and Omarion Hampton, and if the price is right, I think that the Chargers may go out and try and land running back Breece Hall from the Jets. Aside from Kamini Vidal, the Chargers have no one else they can rely on to get that running game going, as Najee Harris, Omarion Hampton, and even Hassan Haskins land themselves on the injury report. On top of the injuries to the offensive line, the Chargers are questioning just who it is they are right now and how far they can go with the lingering injuries to their team. 1 week you're getting blown out the Colts, the second you're blowing out the Vikings. So sure, while there were two opposite end of the spectrums in terms of their results, you have to wonder if they can take on some of the top teams in the AFC right now. I think with how the first few weeks for them went, they believe that they are legitimate Super Bowl contenders. And by bringing in Breece Hall, this gives the Chargers a chance to revive a season where they believe that they can reach the big dance, as I just mentioned. Again, the Chargers don't have anyone else outside of Kamini Vidal, so bringing in Breece Hall could potentially give the Chargers a great 1-2 punch in the run game. And for the Jets, this could bring in decent compensation for a running back who, well, hasn't been all they wanted in terms of his production. Before his injury versus the Dolphins, Braylon Allen looked promising in the opening weeks, and the hope is that he can return back to that form when he returns. If the Jets were to trade Breece to the right team, in this case the Chargers, they could receive compensation as high as a second-round pick for the back. However, I believe that a third or fourth round pick is more likely. Like I said, it's one that I really don't think is going to happen considering where the Jets want to go in the future. But if the price is right, I can see the Jets potentially dealing their running back. Well, folks, that's going to do it for this installment of Frankie Talks Football. If you liked what you heard from me, please be sure to leave a thumbs up on the video and consider subscribing, as it shows that you want to support me as I continue to grow my channel. Agree or disagree with something I said? Be sure to leave a comment letting me know what you thought. And just know that I genuinely appreciate everyone for watching my videos. With that being said, thank you so much for watching this installment of Frankie Talks Football, and I will see you all in the next one.